Hello, my name is Eric and I'm the designer of these wall planters and the founder of the company, and I'm really excited to show you the basics of getting these unpacked, choosing plants, and hopefully sharing everything you need to know to make a thriving garden and up-level your interior decor. So to get started, let's just unpack these together. I just want to show you what's supposed to be in the package. There should be instructions showing how to assemble the insert and the pot and the rope for the self-watering, as well as some suggestions for how to lay out the planters. My personal recommendation for laying out the planters is the boho style here. I think it's the most attractive. But yeah, just do what I guess suits you and suits your home. Then we've got this card to register your warranty. So just scan the QR code and you'll see a form there to fill out with your order number and everything. So that way, if there's anything that happens at any point in the future with the planters, you can just message us and we'll send you a replacement or a full refund, whatever you prefer. I should get this out of the way here. Also, a lot of people love the wider planter. It essentially allows more room for plants to go. So some of the plants that you might start in the regular planters can be transferred over to these wider planters once they get a little bit bigger. Personally, these are my favorite planters. Even you can just see behind me, I only have 3 on the wall there, but with the pothos in these wider planters, it can cover an entire wall. So really, really beautiful and really easy to care for as well. And then we got the plant course card, which of course you already saw. I'm going to pull out this first piece, and then this is new that we've added into the planters. We have the option to use damage-free hooks. I strongly only recommend using these if you're a renter and you really can't use a nail or a screw. There's another video lower down, actually the last video on the page, where I go in depth and show you exactly how to install these. Basically, I follow what is outlined in the instruction card. As long as you follow what's outlined in the instruction card, you should be good to go. But if you want a little bit more guidance, check out that video. It's only a few minutes long. Then you should also receive, if you got the 6-pack, you receive a bag like this with 6 ropes. And then there should be another bag with 6 nails, 6 screws, and 6 drywall anchors right here. And then 6 inserts like these ones here, and then the planters. And this is one of the things I wanted to show you. I recommend taking out all the planters. One of the common pieces of feedback that we're working on addressing is these planters, although they are designed with a rounded bottom because they're supposed to hang on a wall, it can be a little bit awkward to handle them when you're getting them set up or switching things around or repotting or anything like that because the bottom's rounded. So we've definitely had situations where somebody will repot into one of these and then will tip over and spill dirt everywhere, which I totally understand is a bummer. What I recommend is pulling the bottom piece out of the packaging and actually using that as a stand. So order of operations would be figure out where you want to put the planters, measure everything out, put the wall anchors in the wall, and I'll actually have a separate video talking about the different options for the wall anchors and what we recommend there. But once you have mapped out exactly where you want everything to go, once you got your plants, your soil, you're ready to assemble everything, then you can use just this one stand to get everything set up with no mess. So just go one at a time, put the planter in here, and then work this way. Let's see what else here. I just have some notes. Yeah, one other thing, just a few other like quick setup things that I want to mention, because sometimes we get questions about this. People wonder how much they should fill up the reservoir. And the answer depends on which plants you use. My default plant for these planters is pothos, just because it's extremely resilient and it looks so gorgeous trailing down the wall. Philodendrons as well are also great. I'll have another video where I talk a little bit more about how to choose plants. But even if you just went out and bought those 2 plants, you would be doing really well. And with those 2 plants, you can just fill up the reservoir all the way. So by all the way, I mean filling up the base of this planter so the water comes to the bottom of the reservoir, or the bottom of the self-watering insert. Another thing that's really important to keep in mind is that it is not the best if you only just replenish the reservoir at the bottom and let the water get wicked up, because water carries a lot of minerals, which if they build up in the soil can become toxic to the plants. So you want to always fill up the reservoir in the bottom and then also water from the top. And a general thing that I try to do is, even with these plants that like moisture, I still like to let the soil dry out in between waterings. So let all the water in the reservoir get used up, let the soil dry out, and then refill the reservoir and water again from the top as well. So again, I just want to show you how these things fit together, because some people get confused. So this goes in here, and this is supposed to go around the outside of the back groove like this. So sometimes people try to put it in like this. That's incorrect. You want to go like this. The other thing I want to mention is, so if you're putting succulents in these things, don't use self-watering, because succulents, number one, they don't really have deep roots, so they're not going to necessarily be able to absorb up the water from the reservoir. And secondly, if the soil is moist, it's going to cause root rot in the succulents. So that's a big no-no for the succulents. I would still use the insert, just don't use the rope. Just put the insert in like that, and then you'll have great drainage. And as long as the pots are in a sunny location, the succulents should thrive. We've also had some comments and questions about gnats. Gnats should not be a problem as long as you do what I said previously and allow the water in the reservoir to get completely used up and let the soil dry out in between waterings. Gnats will only be a problem if you maintain water in the reservoir at all times, which we definitely don't want to do. Now I'm just going to show you a few things about actually getting plants in here. My preference is to repot into the pots because it just gives plants more room to grow. And in general, I believe is a best practice in terms of your plant's health to not leave it in the nursery pot, to give it some fresh potting soil and so on in order to help it thrive. So I've got some potting soil here. I just bought this from, I actually happen to live right beside a little convenience store that sells plants. I just picked it up there. I've also linked to some fertilizer that you can, or some potting soil that you can buy on Amazon below the video on plants. So you can check that out if you want some potting soil or if you don't have any. But yeah, I'll just go ahead and grab one of these plants. I actually got these in slightly larger nursery pots. These are more like 5-inch nursery pots, so it would be a little bit awkward if I tried to use the nursery pot directly. Let's just see if there's any smaller ones in here. No, these are all pretty big. Yeah, so in this case, there might not even be that much room in this case for a lot of extra potting soil, but I did want to just mention quickly, if you did get a plant in a 4-inch nursery pot, and you wanted to keep it in the nursery pot because you didn't want to get your hands messy and you didn't want to buy potting soil or anything like that, and I totally understand if that's the case, and I have done this and it works. What you would do is just grab some scissors and then get in the bottom hole here and then just cut around the bottom. Okay, this is going to be like a little bit more tricky because this pot's a little bit stiff, but generally the little 4-inch nursery pots, they're very easy to cut the bottom off. And I will do it on this one just to demonstrate. It's a little bit messy, but it really doesn't take that much time. And this is just so that the soil at the bottom can come in contact with the self-watering rope. Whoops, okay. All right, so I think the top of this pot is still going to be too big kind of for this planter, and that is the case. What we could still do here is I could cut just like another layer. I mean, I could even try cutting off the top of this pot, but generally what you want to do if you do want to keep plants in nursery pots, definitely just get the 4-inch nursery pots, don't get these 5-inch ones. So yeah, I'll leave it at that, and then I'm actually going to just take this plant here and I'll pot it. And you're probably not going to learn anything new from seeing me pot this. It's pretty straightforward. I'll just show you how I do it though. By the way, I do recommend using a potting mix rather than just some random dirt that you might find, because potting mix tends to have better drainage, which is key for indoor plants. Whoops. So you can see I just made a big mess, but for me the main key is to get the plant in at the level that I want, and then I like to just use my hands to add in any extra dirt around the edges and lightly, gently pack it in. You don't want it to be super packed in because you want the plant to be able to breathe. So yeah, I only put a tiny little bit of potting soil at the bottom. And then yeah, the next step would be to go hang this up, and then probably once I have all the planters hung up, give them a wipe off, and then water them immediately after you've repotted them. I tend not to fertilize my plants a lot, but it is good to do. I'll include a link below the video on plants as well, where you can buy some fertilizer on Amazon if that's something that you need. All right. Yeah, and maybe just a note on, especially with these pothos, the way that I gauge whether they need water is I just look at the leaves. If they're starting to look a little bit droopy, the next thing I do is I just pick up the planter off the wall. And if the pot feels really light, that means the water's been used up, and then I'll just, maybe I'll touch the soil as well, but oftentimes you can tell just with the pothos, at least you can tell just by looking at the leaves and the weight of the pot, and you can say, oh yeah, it needs more water. Just dump some more water in and you should be good to go. I would also recommend getting a moisture meter if you don't have one already. It's only like 12 bucks. And at first it doesn't seem like a big deal to stick your fingers in and check the moisture of the soil. But if you have a lot of plants, over the years, it is a little bit annoying to always just be getting your hands dirty. And so it can save you a hassle in that regard, and it's not that expensive. So something to consider, maybe something to add down the road after you get things rolling. But yeah, I think that's it for this video. Let's wrap it up there, and then we'll do another video about choosing plants and buying plants. All right, thank you so much. Oh, and one last thing. If you do have any questions, there's a contact form on the website, and also I've linked to it at the bottom of this page under the last video. So you can just click there, send us a message. You can also email me, eric@mkgood.co, and I reply to all my emails. So yeah, just feel free to ping me. All right, thank you.